All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Darren from Instructional Technology. I'm the LMS specialist. Morgan is with me today, our other LMS specialist. So between the two of us, we should be able to hopefully answer any questions you have. So yeah, please feel free to ask any questions as we move through this session. I can do that now, new in Brightspace. So this is actually, I like doing this session. It allows me to just, for an hour, just talk about like everything new in our platform since the last time I did this session, which was during the Spring eCoach Day. But yeah, so every month, part of my job is to kind of review the updates and decide, what needs to go out to all of our champions and e-coaches, and what we turn on, what we leave off, what we wait for a little bit longer. And so there's been some good stuff that have come out in the last few months, and there's some good stuff on the horizon as well. So I can't wait to share those things with you once they become reality. So like I said, please feel free to raise your hand, use the chat, unmute, whatever you need to do as I'm going through. But I'm really just going to kind of touch on a bunch of different things that are new. Some things I'm going to show you in a course, and some things we're just going to talk about. So let's get started. I'm not actually going to use the presentation, so we're just going to get out of that for now. And I'll go ahead and share it with you so that you can follow along. But really, the presentation is just for so you have links to everything that I'm going to be talking about. But I'm going to do a lot of this in a course. So let's move over there. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is the announcements tool. And some of you may have noticed this. This is a fairly new um, update, is that you can now pin announcements to the top of your course. So this is a nice feature similar to Activity Feed. You could do that in Activity Feed since we started with Brightspace, but now you can actually pin announcements as well. Just know it's very simple to do. You can see by the GIF here, the GIF, however you refer to it. It's the drop down next to the announcement. One of the options is pin to top. You can pin the announcement to the top. It stays there until you unpin it. So that is going to stay there for your students until you unpin it. So that is something manual that you have to do there's no availability or release conditions or anything that determines how long it would stay there. So it is a manual process. You can do it from the announcements tool, or you can do it from the actual widget. So if I am in the homepage of my course, sorry for the loading delay. There's a lot of us running Google Meets in this building today. There we go. So if I am on my homepage, which I thought I already was, come on now. There we go. So like I said, you can do it from the tool, or if you have an announcement, you can do it right from the homepage. I know a lot of us are used to just working with the announcements tool right from the announcements widget. So there's that pin to top option there, and then you can see it's pinned. It'll stay there until it's unpinned. All right. Something else in the announcements tool is this, and this has been around for a while. This is actually being released to the rest of Brightspace, I think next month or the month after, but we've had it for quite a while now, and that's the ability to copy announcements to other courses. So from again, the widget or the announcements tool in the dropdown, you have the option to copy, which copies it and leaves it in that course, but you can copy to other courses. I believe it's 9 or 10. I think it's up to 10 other courses. So when you use this feature, copy to other courses, you'll get the search. And you do have to perform a search. Typically, you would just put in your username, because that is a common denominator in all of our course names that come down from PowerSchool. Oops. But then you can choose the courses that you would like it to go to. So there we go. Then it would get pushed to all of those other courses. Please note that it will not show, once you push it to those other courses, it will not show in the widget. You would have to go into the announcements tool, find the announcement that was pushed to the course. So you go to the other courses that you pushed it to, go to the announcements tool, find it, and then decide by going and edit. excuse me, you would go in and edit that announcement, and then you would decide when you would want it to be published. This was a bad example. This was from the beginning of the year. We don't want to bring back memories of that. But anyway, so then you would decide when you would want to publish it. So that has to be done with each one, because pushing it, it doesn't necessarily know if you want it to be published in those other courses immediately. And there's not a way to do that yet. All right, so those are the announcements updates. Any questions there? It looks like we're good so far. All right, so the next one we're going to look at is not necessarily an update, but just something that a lot of folks have been asking for. And so we came up with kind of a workaround. We want to, a lot of people want to be able to create a second profile widget. So in our profile, editing your profile directions, we now have directions on creating a second profile. And that really all you're doing with a second profile is let's say, you're filling out the profile widget for your co-teacher, or your co-teacher is completing it. You're taking a screenshot of that, and you are uploading that screenshot into a custom widget. That custom widget will become your secondary profile widget. Then after you've created that custom widget, you can go back and put your information in the primary profile widget. We have directions on how to do that. Pretty straightforward, just using that snipping tool. Let's say by a thumbs up or nothing. Thumbs up if folks are wanting me to show how that process would go. If you want to use the reactions, if I see nothing, I'm going to move on. Okay, a little bit of wait time. Looks like we're good. Okay, so yeah, those directions are there. They're linked in the slide deck that I shared with you. But yeah, it's really pretty straightforward, and not everyone has a use case for it, but some people do, and you can have that co-teacher or secondary profile widget. All right, as we continue, let's move on to the class list. So there are some things in the class list that are updates, or maybe just things up or new to you. So one thing to know is that you can email parents from the class list. It's not a bulk email. It's not a mass email. It is one parent at a time, but it is an easy way to email parents directly. It will go to whatever email they have on file in PowerSchool. It's the same email they have in file in Brightspace, just like they use their PowerSchool username and password to log into Brightspace Parent and Guardian, but you can email parents from the class list. So that's really, really simple. Just the drop down next to the student name, send email to parent and guardian, and you will see both parents and guardians when you do that. Let's take a look at that. So I'm going to head into course admin and our class list. And while we're in there, I'll show you another feature of the class list. Actually, a couple more that may be new to you. So I'm actually using my own son in this one. He's got a few extra courses today. But you can send an email to email parents and guardians. You can see once you do that, the pop-up comes. It'll come from you. You could CC your Outlook email as well, but you can see that both parents that are attached to the student are there. So my wife and myself are both there. So both parents will get it. You can remove one parent if you needed to, but why would you need to do that? So, or there might be a circumstance where you need to do that. Okay. Other drop downs in the class list are you can email the student. You could also send all the students. If you check off all students, you can email all students in the class by checking off all and using one of the bulk options at the top. One other option we have in the class list dropdown is that we can set accommodations for students. These accommodations are set in the class list, but will be used in the quiz tool. And the quiz tool has timing features, and you can set an accommodation to extend that time for students when taking a quiz. And we'll look at the timing features in quizzes coming up in a little bit later in our session, but this is a way to edit those accommodations for all quizzes for a particular student. Other things just having to do with the class list, um, looking at if we are looking at our spread or our slide deck here, we do have options for different types of enrollment. So I know a lot of us have PowerSchool SIS created courses. SIS is our student information system, but some of us work with non-SIS courses. These are courses that are not attached to PowerSchool, not tied to PowerSchool, so they're non-SIS. And in those non-SIS teachers do have other permissions. And one of those is to do a bulk enrollment. And the bulk enrollment in our non-SIS, this is our non-SIS page. Our bulk enrollment allows you to really have two choices. I'm going to zoom in on this for you a little bit. We have a self-service bulk enrollment. This is where you get the student information. That's the student ID number. You create a file, a CSV file, and then you use the class list tool to upload them into your course. This can be a little tricky, but we do have step-by-step directions here on our non-SIS page on our Teacher Intro to Digital Tools site. But we also have a full service bulk enrollment. So I wanted everyone to be aware of this. So if you do have EEE media courses, you have a National Honor Society course, and you have lots of students, if you can get the student information from your registrar, or you have access, admin access to PowerSchool, that there's an ST03 report in PowerSchool that allows you to get all student ID numbers. You can put those into the file in our directions here for a full service bulk enrollment, send that off to me, and we get those into those students into your course very easily and quickly for you. So those are just two options that we have in addition to just using the class list to add one student at a time or one teacher at a time. If you are adding a bunch of teachers to your course, go with the full service, because all you need is their email usernames. Put it into the spreadsheet, the template that's linked here, and then you just send that off to us and to me, and Morgan helps too with that, and we can get those people into your course very quickly for you. Right. So any questions about managing enrollments or the class list? All right. All right. So far, so good. All right. So moving on. So kind of in. Yes, Kathy, you can email parents from the class list at the elementary level. Yeah. So any parent that has a PowerSchool account should have an email address in your Brightspace class list. All right. So moving components from course to course. So we really have two options, and these are not really new as far as pulling. So you can pull things. So that is really that import export copy tool that we've all probably used, and we can copy all or selecting components from a past course, another course, into a course. So we are in the course that doesn't have the content yet, and we are using import export copy, the copy feature of that tool, to then copy from another course and pull things in. Another option that is not as widely used is a course package. The course package, it works kind of the same way as the copy tool, except you're creating a zip file that you could then share with other people via email, through a Google Drive, OneDrive. It's a little bit more versatile way to share your course content, maybe amongst a team. So in the import export copy tool of the course that has the content that you want, you will, instead of choosing copy, which is the default, you would choose export as a Brightspace package. You would select start, and then the next few would look very similar to if you've copied before. You can select specific components that would then become part of this package. Once you have selected all the components that would become part of the package, let's say you just wanted some content, everything else you're going to leave, you would continue. One important step here is to include course files. This is important, especially if you're using Creator Plus or other files that are linked in HTML docs or images. You want to make sure you include those files, because any image is stored as a file within your course. Then you would export. That would come to you as a CSV file, and you could then, like I said, share it numerous ways with other with colleagues in your building or across the district via email, Drive, like I said, anywhere at all. So that is using a course package to pull content out of your course and share it. We also have those push options. So the two push options that we have, I touched on it with copy announcements. You can also do this with assignments. So within the assignments tool, once an assignment is created, I'll get to that question in just a second. Once an assignment is created, you could then copy the assignment to other courses. Again, up to, I believe, 9 or 10 other courses at the same time. It will not go directly into the content tool. It'll be stored in the assignments tool, and you would need to go in and add it to the content tool using add existing. But it is a much easier way to get assignments from one course to another than using the import export copy tool. It's a nice easy push up to 10 other courses at one time. So Jillian, great question. Yes, if someone, going back to course packages, if someone sent you a file, same tool, you would just go back to import export copy for the course that you wanted to put the package into, and you would say you would import components from a course package, and then you would start. You would find that file stored somewhere on your computer and you would upload it, import all, and that's it. It would then go to wherever it belongs within your course. That could be, if it was just content, it would go directly into the content tool inside of a unit. If it was assignments, it would go into the assignments tool that you could then use them. So yeah, easy way to do it. We are slowly getting some of our content offices in on creating course packages or creating master courses that could be copied from, or creating packages that could then be shared in the curriculum document and then could be uploaded. So if you are, working with content offices, just, something to mention when you're working with them. A PDF file starting to copy within a package now before. Shell, I'm not sure about that. I would have to do some testing on that one. I believe if the file was uploaded to the course and it's stored in your managed files area, it should come over with the course package.
I think what I was kind of referring to is that if you just said export and then import, it would show that a PDF file was supposed to be there in the content folder, but then if you clicked on the PDF, it would say file not available. So you still had to go back and copy the file or upload the file anyway into the new course. Am I making sense to you?
Yeah, I think. Well, I'm not exactly sure. It could be that the PDF was linked. If it was a link to the PDF, that might cause an issue. But I'm not sure about that. That's something I would have to test. Maybe could you kind of email me? Did that happen to you?
Yeah, and I tried to work at the office, and we realized that you still had to upload the file in the other course. So I was just wondering if that's something that's been fixed since then.
Not sure. And this was a course package.
Yeah, it was. Okay. I wouldn't say course package, but the Brightspace content package. Like if I exported unit 2 and then from one geometry class and then imported it in the other geometry class, you could see that what files were supposed to be there, but the PDFs wouldn't copy over without me adding existing file again to that second course.
Yeah, let's try and schedule something to look at that. And Morgan said that she's going to test that out too. So that, we'll definitely try and get to the bottom of that. The instructor information. Yeah, do you mean like the profile? Yeah, the profile should come over in a course package. The profile widget will come over if you're doing a copy. If you do a copy all, it's not going to come over if you do select components, but if you do a copy all or a package, the profile information should come over. All right, so that is kind of a quick review of those copy and move components that we have in our courses. Any other questions about that? Thanks. I appreciate the questions on this. I just want to write, and I'm going to write down that question. Give me 1 second, please. Don't want to forget. All right. Next, let's move on to assignments. Something that I'm hoping we're using more and more is the assignments tool. Even if we are still using those Google assignments, putting the Google assignments into our assignments tool. The one thing just to note, if you were putting Google assignments inside of assignments, they do not copy over with that push that I just went over. You would have to use the pull option that with the import export copy tool. So some things newish in the assignments tool are the availability dates. So when you're setting availability dates in discussions and assignments, you do have some extra options. And those would be, once you put in that availability date for an assignment, you'll get some blue text underneath it that give you different options. And it would be, those options are visible with access restricted, visible with submission restricted, or just straight up hidden until the availability date is reached. So you can really decide what you would want based on, the assignment, based on the lesson, based on the students in your class, based on you. A lot of times I like to, after the end date, have it visible with submission restricted, so that if there are links to resources or other components that maybe students would need or want to revisit, they can still see that within the assignment, but they are not allowed to complete the assignment after that end date comes. This is really just to go over some of those options: visible with access restricted, visible with submission restricted, and then obviously hidden. In your course admin, one option that you have, we head over to our other course, head back to course admin, you can set course defaults for those availability dates. Availability date defaults are right at the top if you're organizing by category. So this would, in each course, you could set this, and then that's what would happen every time you used availability dates for assignments and for discussions. So you can go ahead and set those. So set them and forget them, really. And that's in course admin, set availability date defaults. Looking at another assignment update, and this is fairly exclusive to Anne Arundel County Public Schools, is we have a new default submission type, and that is a file or text submission is the default submission type in our assignments setup now. You also have the text only submission type. Then we have two that have been there. That is the external tool submission. You can use for, let's say, Google assignments or other outside assignments where students are leaving Brightspace, completing assignment, they could come back and mark an assignment as complete. So you have a record of them finishing their work. And you can also, that's a great place to give feedback as well, so that all the feedback is in one place. Or then you have the in-person on paper submission type. Students with the file or text submission, students can upload a file or a text submission to satisfy the submission type, which is nice. One thing to note is students, if they're uploading a file, special characters do not work well when you're trying to look at the submissions and give feedback. And what's nice too is there's also a comments field. So if the students were to submit a file, they could also add comments to talk about their file. They don't have to put in a text submission. They can just add comments about their file, and you do see those during the feedback process. I saw a couple something. Oh yeah, file only does work. So you can see, you can do a file or text submission, if you can see over here on the right, but then you can toggle allow text submission off. So a file or text submission can become a file only submission for students. Yep. So I'm pretty sure they've pretty much thought of it all with this. I think it works well, and it eliminates if you're creating a quick assignment and you forget to change it to let's say text in the past, text only, students would have had to submit a file when you didn't want a file. So that is, I think it's a really nice upgrade for us. Let's go in. Yeah, I'm going to go in and see, and let's go ahead and take a look at that. So let's look at an assignment here. So I'm going to head to the assignments tool and just quickly go over the two assignments updates. So let's create a new assignment. So first of all, submission availability. Once I add in that availability date, let's say it'll be available tomorrow, but I don't want students, I can decide, is it access restricted, submission restricted, or just plain up hidden? I don't want them to see it. You can also choose to add the availability dates to the calendar if you want. At the end date, I'm going to choose, we'll just choose the end of the marking period. And I'm just going to say visible with submission restricted for my students so that they can go back if they needed to later on. When I'm doing submission and completion, I would choose you can see the submission type is file or text submission. Don't forget to add that category. I think it's, categories are a great way to really, it's good. I think it's best practice to organize your assignments. It's helpful later on as your course gets full of assignments later on in the year. If I do not want this to be have that text option, I can go ahead and just turn that off for my students. You can decide which submissions are kept. Down in evaluation feedback, that's where you can get into adding rubrics. We have great step-by-steps on adding the rubrics and creating rubrics as well. So, fairly minimal change, but I think it has a big impact on how we do our work. Okay. Any questions about the assignments updates? All right, we'll keep moving. So quizzes, some of the, I would say the biggest updates have come in quizzes. So I believe it was toward the end of last year, the workflow of how you built quizzes changed completely. Now it's quizzes, assignments, discussions, all look the same. They all have the same menus and some of the same options, but they moved a lot of the options into some categories and to make it a little bit more organized and I believe easier to set up. One of the big changes though is timer settings. So we now have timer settings in our quizzes. So you can set a time limit for the quiz, anywhere from, I guess, 1 to however many minutes you want. I think this is helpful with getting our students ready for those standardized tests. We also have a newer, something I think came out just last month, is the quiz start. How will this quiz start? Will it be asynchronous? So the timer starts when the learner launches the quiz, or a synchronous timer starts on a specific date and time. So everyone would start at the same time. So this would be good for virtual teaching, but also, just to kind of have uniformity in your course. You also have options for how what will happen if the learner exceeds their quiz time, and that would be automatically submit the quiz. So the timer runs out and it is submitted, or it's flagged, so you as the instructor, the teacher, know that they exceeded the time limit, but they can finish, or nothing will happen just like before. So those are some major updates when it comes to quizzing and quiz timing. You can see here this GIF kind of takes you through how you would set those timer settings. Another piece that's really nice though is the student view. So students have the timer up when the timer starts, when the quiz starts, they have the timer in the top right corner of their quiz, but they can hide it. So if there is some anxiety that comes along with having a timed assessment, they can hide it, open it up as needed as they move through the quiz. They'll also get a warning that what will happen with 1 minute left in the quiz. If it's set to be submitted, they will get that warning. One of the quiz question types that kind of got a nice little update recently was the written response. So the written response allows you now to have that option to first enable an HTML editor for learners. So they get that full Brightspace editor. That means they can add math type, they can add video, audio. It also allows learners to insert images and add attachments. So you can choose if your learners should or should not be able to do that. You also have the option to add a custom response box to a written response. So you can decide how large the response box will be for students. You have different options for that. And you can also give students a essentially a sentence starter, how in their custom response box. So it would kind of let them know, or a prompt to get started with their writing or their written response. We're going to look at that in just a second. And then the other thing I just wanted to touch on is question library. So just to really, did you know, questions built in the question library can be adjusted after being added to a quiz and will be available to all future quizzes. So really, I'm just a workflow is when you are creating quizzes in Brightspace, go to the question library first, create the quiz items in question library, and then go back to your quiz, create a new quiz, and add from the question library. That this really allows you to be more flexible if you do decide to change something in a question later on, or something with the questions not quite right. You can change it in the question library. It'll be updated anywhere it's added to a quiz in your course. So that is a helpful tool and a helpful workflow when you're creating quizzes in Brightspace. So let's head into quizzes and just kind of look at what that workflow would look like for creating a new quiz and a written response item. All right, so when we are looking at our timing and display, we have availability just like in all of our other tools, but our timing and display, we can set that time limit. I'm not sure I would go 120 minutes. Let's just say this would be a short formative assessment, 10 minutes. And then we can access our timer settings. You can see here you have the options, synchronous, asynchronous. You can see I get a warning here. I forgot to choose a start date, so it won't allow me, it doesn't recognize that I want it to be synchronous, so I would have to go back and choose that, or I can make it asynchronous, and I'm just going to flag it for when my students are done. So you can go through those different timer settings. You do have some updated paging settings here. You can decide, do I want all questions together? Do I want one after each section, question, 5 questions, or 10 questions? Those are some paging options that you have, along with shuffling questions, allowing hints. You can disable their email messaging and alerts within Brightspace during a quiz as well. When you are adding from your question library, like I mentioned, so you're going to go to add existing and you're going to browse the question library. I believe I already have a written response in here. I don't. Wait, yes, I do. No, I don't. Wait, here we go. There we go. So I'm going to import that question. Then I can edit the question. There we go. Until I make quizzes all the time. But here we go. So I can enable that HTML. I can allow learners. I can have a custom response box size. So a shorter, much longer, or just the default size, about a paragraph. Other options I have is I can add an answer key, add a hint, add initial text for my students. So here's where I can say, in the beginning. And students can continue with that sentence as they're answering the question. You can see a nice preview over here on the side as well. and then I would save. So I added it from the question library, then I was able to edit that question further once it was put into my quiz as a written response to add those other features. Any questions about the quiz updates that we went over today? All right, well, we will keep going. All right, so moving on to content creation. So one of the newest, I think I was just working on this last Friday, was content creation updates. So when you are creating contents like an HTML file, you now can add standards and you can add release conditions during the creation process. So in the past, you would have created an HTML file, then you would have gone back to content, clicked on it once, gone to the three dots, and you would have the option to add view standards or view release conditions. And that is when you could add the release conditions or the standards to that piece of content. Now you can do it during the creation process. So that is a nice update. Just it's really more of a convenience, I believe, but it is nice. You still have that option. If you already have existing content, you can either edit the content and then you will have these choices to add release conditions or standards when you're creating content, or you can view standards or view release conditions and go directly to those options to add those items to an HTML doc or let's a web link or other pieces of content that you put into the Brightspace content tool. Let's quickly take a look at what that looks like. All right, so from my content tool, let's go ahead and create new. And let's just look at let's do an HTML document, much more versatile. This way too, we can look at some of the Creator Plus features that have been out for a little while, but we would definitely want to keep highlighting those. So when you are looking at availability dates, you can see now you have the release conditions that you can add. If you already have release conditions in the course that you like to use over and over, let's say you want to release to a specific section or group of students, you can do that. So you can say member of a group, or if they visit a specific piece of content, then this item would be released to them after that. You also have the standards. This will not show unless you already have standards added to the course. We have directions, it's in the slide deck on how to add standards to your course. We just know we are in the process of updating our standards from the ACPS jurisdiction. D2L is working on that for us. So those will be, if you're not finding what you want, you can look in the Common Core, or you can look in, or they will be updated, I hope very soon. We're staying on them about getting that done. So adding the release conditions, adding standards, but also let's talk a little bit about some of the things you can do with Creator Plus and even templates. I know this is something we've mentioned before, but we do have templates that can be used within an HTML doc. We do have our general template. We have our asynchronous and synchronous virtual instruction day templates as well. These can be used in conjunction with Creator Plus or any other of the tools. Insert stuff. You can add those video notes amongst them too. But this gives you a nice consistent outline that you can use daily with your students and really present kind of in the same way that I'm doing. You know, when I'm really just presenting content from my HTML doc, and I'm using an accordion to present different information. So that's something that I think could be very helpful getting, as you're building future lessons. Is Creator Plus the plus sign? Yes, it is. Yep, I was just going to get to that. Yeah, so there's a template, but then yeah, you can use the plus sign, and Creator Plus really has three parts to it. It has layouts, it has an insert practice, or an insert element. So before I do that, I'm just going to scroll down so that I am below my template, plus sign, Layouts, you have the choice of halves, 2/3, 1/3, 1/3, 2/3, or 3. So you can put things, and this really just avoids you having to put in a table and then getting rid of the table borders. It just allows you to better organize your content and put things side by side. And so there's really can limit some of the scrolling that way. The plus sign also gives you access to different elements and different practices. I'm going to Here are your different element choices. Accordion, hotspots, and carousels are two of the newer ones. I'm going to go back to my others course and kind of show you what those look like. Um, you can really get a good idea. Um, you can also put in practices. Those are just our nice self-assessments, drop down, fill in the blank. That's a nice one. We've actually put in a request to have drop down, fill in the blank as a option in the question library for quizzes as well. We think it would be a nice option. So hopefully that gets built for us. I think that would be great. Couple questions. Are there some PDs coming up for those? Yes, there are. And Morgan, if you wouldn't mind grabbing that information, um, for them, that'd be awesome. And it was shared in the Champions course and the eCoach course. So you can go into either one of your courses into the announcements and see that. Yes, all three are the same. We just wanted to give you options. So there's one after school and there's two during the day the following week. I was given permission from our teacher specialists in our office that if you do attend the after school one, you can pay yourself on your fall eCoach log. All right, so let's go back. I just want to kind of quickly show you some of those options that you have for different elements. The carousel is nice. I think it's a nice way to replace some of the slide decks. Sorry, Jillian, I'm just saying, is it something that yes, all teachers can attend. I don't know if we can pay them though. I think, I guess it's more meant for our e-coaches and our champions to get some inspiration for maybe a PD they could offer at their school. But I can look into, I don't know if we have any money to pay others and in addition to our champions and e-coaches. So that's something I'd have to look into. So you can see the carousels can be really cool. You can slide through, have images and information. The information on the right-hand side does come with a full editor. So adding video and links and images on the right-hand side is possible as well. The hotspot is really cool. It's accessible. You put in an image and then you can put up to 9 different hotspots. This is kind of blurry. I think I have a better one in this course. Oh, here, right here. This one's a little bit clearer. So as you can see in this lesson, we have an accordion. I know this is a hotspot that Morgan made with for Carmen San Diego, but just a very simple one. This is Canada. This is Australia, and she's in Australia. But it just gives the students that information. You can, see what that you could put in. There's a lot more information you can put in, but you could also be very simple. And Morgan did post the session times and dates for the Creator Plus session that we're going to be having. And like I said, in your eCoach announcement or your, I don't think it's in eCoach yet. I think it's going to post tomorrow or the Champions course, you can get the registration links. Let's head back. There we go. So we looked at the carousel. The hotspot is awesome. Accordion's really what you're seeing right here. Tabs, just a kind of a different way to chunk information. You can have the links down the side or across the top. This is a nice one. Click and reveal gives you a kind of a preview, but then you get a button to reveal more information, video, or other images or other just more text or information for students. The call out, identify, just really just a way to call out a little bit of information. The timeline is really cool. Haven't used it much yet, but I think it's cool. Flip cards are nice, for learning. It's kind of maybe a vocabulary activity for students. So really, it's just a way to organize and engage students with the content. The insert practice options. Just a note, these are not connected to the quiz tool. There's not data we can get from these yet. I know that's something that Brightspace is working on getting us is data for some of them. I think they're going to start with the multiple choice or the multi-select, but move on from there. My favorite is the drop-down fill in the blank. So just a short answer, but the students get the choices, and then they can check their answers to see if they're correct. Every practice does come with the check your answers option, and students can do it as many times as they need to check their work and to see how they're doing with the information. You can see there's a sorting activity. I'm sorry, a sequencing activity. There's also a sorting activity where they drag and drop into different categories. You have just very simple true false, and also you have fill in the blank. What's nice about when you're building the practices too, the creation tool guides you through it step by step. All right. So another part of the Creator Plus suite, in addition to layouts, elements, and practices, is the media library. Probably this is my favorite tool. I love the way you can just store all of your media in one place. Then use that media, anything you create in the media library could then be accessed by any of your courses, not just the course that it was created in. So if you create a video note or an audio note in one course, it is stored in your media library. You could then use it in other courses. The media library can be accessed through, and this is not going to look like yours, but it can be accessed through the gear at the top right corner. You can see media library here, or it can be accessed in course tools. It's one of our options. There it is, media library. You can see I'm going to be taken out of my course, and now I'm going to be in, well, I'm actually not technically in the course, but I know it still says it up there, but I'm not technically in the course anymore. But all of my media will be here for me. Anything that I've created. There we go. Will be here for me to access. I can select it and I can upload it. I can move it into my course. I also have some options I can download it. I could even transfer ownership of something to another user within the district as well, which is nice. I can also, if I've uploaded, you see that you have the option to upload a file. Once it's uploaded, I can actually go in and edit a file. I can add a table of contents. I can add closed captioning to it. So if it didn't have closed captioning, I can add the closed captioning in the language that I'm speaking. It'll do it automatically. And I also have a very simple editing tool, snipping tool, where I can cut parts of my video down. When you're creating a recording, so if you're familiar with the Brightspace editor, insert stuff, you can create a video note, audio note. You have that option here as well. You can turn your camera on or off, but you can also share your screen. So you can do a screen recording and give students that step-by-step directions on how to access something or how you would like them to proceed through an activity. So that's a nice feature as well. And then this can be added anywhere you see insert stuff in the Brightspace editor. You have the media library option and you can add your media library videos. Morgan, did I miss anything?
No, I think you kind of covered all the questions.
All right, cool. Oh, Jillian, I see be added to the bootcamp course. Yeah, do me a favor and just email me and I will add you to this course so you can see what I'm showing here. All right, let's head back to that course. Oops, yeah, I did take myself out of that. There we go. And I know we are running out of time. Any questions for the good of the group before we wrap up our session on these Brightspace updates? I was relying on my course to guide me, so I'm going to make sure I didn't miss anything. Content elements. Yep, media lab. So I have discussions on here. Really, the only update is the discussions now look like quizzes. They look like assignments. So the way it's created. So that is the one big update from discussions. So I think I've done it. I covered everything in the amount of time that they gave me. So that's might be a new record, so that's good. I didn't have to rush too much today. We have 5 minutes, so if you're in there playing and you come across a question that you have, just let us know. We're here to help. I know Morgan's going to post the evaluation tool and attendance tool form, excuse me, in the chat. So make sure you fill that out so you get credit for being here. And yeah, so